Hey guys. So my original plan for today was to come up to Mega Bros and film a funny video to promote the business, but I felt like God had been pushing me to film like a testimonial video, just in case maybe we could help someone, because as Christians, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be there to help and try to bring people to God. So hopefully this will help do that for someone. So to start off, I guess I should go like 4 years back. Now to say 4 years back, I mean, I had spent pretty much all of my life in church up until that point. 4 years ago, me and my wife, we felt like we were supposed to go move to Fayetteville, Arkansas. We felt like that's what God wanted us to do, right? And we got up there, and at first it was great. You know, we went to church. We found a church when we first got up there, but it was only that one time. Like, we went to that church one time, and it seemed like things were falling into place for us. And then the next week, we just made excuses. And then it happened like that for a couple months until we got scared, and we moved back home because we couldn't do it. So after moving back home to Viola, I felt like I totally failed God, and that in itself was just a miserable, really terrible feeling. So I had spent like the next probably year convincing myself, you know, I don't need church to be a Christian. Mind you, I wasn't reading and praying like I should at all. I don't even think I had unpacked my Bible. So that year was all about like discovering ways to convince myself that I can be a Christian without going to church. And let me just say, people that say they can be a Christian without church, that's just a lie they tell themselves and other people to make themselves feel better. Because it's maybe someone can do it, but for a majority of the people, it just doesn't work. Eventually, you're going to get caught up in something. And that's exactly what happened. It started off as drinking maybe once a month, and as the years went by, I started drinking and partying like every weekend almost. And by normal people's standard, that's fine, but by mine, even it wasn't okay. And then, I mean, at that point, I wasn't even claiming to be Christian anymore. If someone from my old church would come up and ask where I was going to church, I would lie, and I'd tell them I'd been like exploring other churches. Although the reality of it is I hadn't been to church in years. It even got to a point where I was working at a jail. I would get upset if I had to take them to the chapel and listen to preaching. I would avoid any conversation about God. And that leads to April 2019, and my marriage was in shambles. At the time, I was working in the prison, and I was about to go in for a shift, and my wife Amanda tells me that she's done. Like, she doesn't want to try anymore. She doesn't want to try and work it out at all. It's just over, basically. So I go to work, and I'm absolutely out of it. And for hours, I'm there working, and I'm trying my best not to lose it. And until eventually I can't handle it anymore. So I call my lieutenant up, and then I go talk to him, and we talk for a little while, and he sends me home. So I start driving home, and at that moment I was like drenched in tears, you know, like my whole life up till that point was basically over. Like the last 7 years of marriage-ish was gone. So I'm driving home, and for the first time in 4 years, I reach out to God and I'm saying, God, how do I fix my marriage? I don't know what to do. Like, that was all I could do at that moment. And it's so weird how God talks to you, because, I didn't hear a voice in my head or anything. It's just like the thought popped in my head that I needed to go home, I needed to hug Amanda, give her a big hug, and I needed to pray with her. And I had never prayed with anybody before, not even my own kids. It was a terrifying thing for me. But instantly when that thought popped up in my head, it felt amazing. Like, my tears dried up. I was the happiest I'd been in probably 4 years. It was awesome. So I get home, I hug and pray with Amanda, and we talk about all the hidden stuff we had done wrong in the past few years of our marriage. And God had already told me that, that's what I need to do. So we forgave each other and everything was great for 6-ish months. See, I had told myself and Amanda that I would completely recommit to God, and I didn't. We went to church one time in those 6 months, and then after that I felt like I could fix it myself, which is never gonna happen. Nobody can ever fix something that broken themselves. So those 6 months go by, and progressively things start getting really bad again. We both had fallen into hurtful habits again, and by December 2019 we had split up. It was over, split. So just 6 months before, I was destroyed. It was more of a mutual split this time, because there was a lot of pain involved in those past few months. But this time I reached out to my friend, Pastor Craig Golden, and he invited me over, and we talked about my marriage. And I told him, I was like, man, I don't even know if I want my marriage back. A lot went on. I don't know if I want it. And at the time I was 80% sure that I was done, right? But my pastor, Craig, told me, he was like, as Christians, we don't get to choose that. That's all up to God. And I was like, yeah, that's true. But in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's over. Pretty dumb, right? So the next day I go to the house to pick up my son Aaron, and me and Amanda are avoiding eye contact. I so badly was just trying to hate her. We were super brokenhearted. Amanda doesn't want anything to do with me, so she goes and gets in the shower. Then I feel like God's pushing me to go hug and pray with her, just like I had done 6 months prior. So I go in the bathroom, and Amanda's in the shower. So I start talking to her from outside the shower, and she didn't really want to hear it. And then again, I feel like God's pushing me to go pray with her. So I climbed in the shower, fully dressed. I hug Amanda, and we pray. It was instantly at that point we were both crying, because before then we were done. But God has a way of just mending broken hearts in a way that's so incomprehensible to me. So we talk, we pray, and we promise each other to start over with a clean slate again, and actually get back into church and get with these awesome Christian counselors. And that leads to now. Things have been amazing. There are always struggles, but this time we had actually built up a team of people that are constantly checking in on us, keeping us going to church, praying for us. And in the past 2 weeks, I got to personally talk my 2 oldest sons through being saved, and then I got to witness them being baptized. So awesome. And now that they talk about it. And now their 5-year-old little brother Link is also asking about being saved and baptized. But to me, it's a little bit scary because I feel like I really need to drill it into his head what it means. He's a little bit younger. So a lot of you that know me may have noticed that there has been this trend throughout my whole life where I would use God to get where I want and to be lifted up. And as soon as I had what I needed, as soon as I felt good, I would just fall off. And it's crazy to me that we can even do that and he'll still love us unconditionally, because if this were just any other friend, after being used a few times like that, they'd be done, right? But not God. Also, it's just so important that we understand the difference between knowing about God and actually having a relationship with him. I mean, seriously, it's like knowing of someone because you've heard stories about him and actually reaching out and building a friendship. Build a relationship with him. Read and pray daily. Don't have the mindset that I had where it's, I'll read and pray if I get time. You should always have the mindset of, I'll read and pray, and then if I have time, I'll do other stuff. Because otherwise, you're gonna fall off, and it's gonna hurt. And then you're gonna come crawling back. And he'll be okay with it. But that's not how it should be. And friends, if you ever doubt if God can fix something, please message me. And we'll go into detail about how messed up my marriage was. And I promise you, you'll be like, wow. It's just incomprehensible. Also, if any of you want to know God and just don't know how to get to know him better, I encourage you to message me. I can personally help you, or I can link you up with some of the best people I know. And if any of you are just hurting and need someone to talk to, message me. I'm here. Thanks. Love you guys.